Rob Van Dam, listening to True Hill Heat. Pow.
Hey guys, this is Thunder Rosa and welcome to True Heel Heat.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube and Facebook for our AEW WrestleDream Preview. First ever edition AEW, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the passing of an NJPW founder and wrestling legend Antonio Inoki from Seattle, Washington, this Sunday, October 1st. And if we're talking about an AEW pay-per-view, I had to call on my favorite person to talk and preview an AEW pay-per-view. And we're pretty close to completing the whole Infinity Gauntlet of AEW pay-per-views. But they had to add one more, so I had to call him in for an extra inning. It is the man you see over at WrestlePurists, the late night Grin. You see him all over the place. I even saw him in Chicago at AEW All Out. It is Joel Hulbert. How you doing, sir?
I'm tremendous. It's always a tough act to follow around here because you give me a big intro, but even before that, we have Rob Van Dam, we have Thunder Rosa. I mean, it's a little difficult, but I'm going to try my best. Always happy to be here, as you know, and we have a good time talking through these shows. We're going to be doing these a lot more often, it seems like. So it's a time of change, but that's exciting and interesting. So we have a lot to get into, mate.
Yes, we're probably gonna have to do this 12 times in next year in 2024. Unless Joe's going to a show. He's gonna go to another show again.
I gotta be honest, I loved being at the show and I love meeting up with friends like yourself, but that flight has pretty much decided I will not be doing it much more. That's I mean, you've done but it's a lot. It's a lot, man.
Trust me, I understand. Doing a flight from London to New York, no, it's never easy.
Exactly.
But I appreciate you, as always, joining me here, and we appreciate everyone who's joining us live in the live chat or joining us live just watching, viewing us here. And if you're watching on demand, we appreciate you as well. Show that appreciation back in the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We've been live every single day. I've been live on this channel every single day since last Thursday. This is 8 days straight. It's a warrior schedule right now, but we're going to pull through for the end of AEW WrestleDream weekend, as well as NXT No Mercy. So yeah, I'm going to probably do like 15 days straight by the end of this, because next weekend's WWE Fastlane. So got to preview and review that as well. But thank you all for joining us, and hit that subscribe button as we are trying to hit our goal for the end of the year of 10,000 subscribers. We're just 500 subscribers away. So help us out if you haven't already. And of course, if you're with us live in the live chat, we'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to us here, we are a self-funded channel. So your super chat donations are also important. Any little bit matters, and we will highlight your comment on screen. Just like one of our members of the channel, you could do that by hitting the join button. It's Negro Buck, Nick Jackson, Nikki Boy saying, "What's up, Joe and SP3?" We got Riceman who says the big men are back. We got Vala B who says, "Hey, SP3 and Joe." You get your own personal Joe chant. Look at that.
It's pretty good. It could be for the photo behind me, to be fair. It could be for the photo behind me. We never know.
We only see one Joe on screen, guys. We only see one Joe on screen. Christopher saying, we live, baby. Yes, yes, indeed. And of course, sound off in the live chat with your predictions. What do you think is going to happen at this Sunday show? And as always, as we start off these previews, Joe, I want to ask you, what is your buzz level, your anticipation for this Sunday show, AEW WrestleDream?
It's pretty damn high, I gotta say. I think on a 1 to 10, I'm like an 8. There are some holes, right? There are some flaws that we'll get into as we go through this show, but this show is very friendly to my personal taste for an AEW show. Like, there's a lot of stuff here that I really am into. And I think I'm kind of bullish on the pay-per-view schedule increase anyway. So I was kind of optimistic about this, and I think there's already evidence it actually may help AEW. So I'm feeling good about it. Again, it's not without issues, which we'll cover, but it's high, man. I think it's been a positive month or so for AEW, which was needed because it was a pretty tumultuous summer, even with the great things they did along the way, right? It was a kind of rocky ride. So I'm pretty optimistic.
I agree with you. I'm at like an 8.5, only because the main event is something I've wanted to see for years. I'm a Techers fan, so this goes to my soul as far as the main event. And there's a bunch of cards where I feel like this overall feels like the best built AEW pay-per-view, dare I say, of 2023. I don't know.
I think so.
Everybody else feels that way, but I feel like that.
It's been more direct, I think, because when we go through it match by match, I think we'll realize it's not like it's been built, in this kind of extraordinary, but it's been more compact, direct. They've got to the point rather than being kind of vague and drifting towards matches. They've made it clear this is what we're doing. And I think it's benefited from that, even with the more brief builds. I think we've benefited from that. So I agree with you, actually.
Absolutely. So let's get into this card here. And we'll start off with a title match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. This was originally supposed to be Better Than You, Baby, defending the titles against the Righteous Vincent and Dutch, who won a number one contenders match at AEW Rampage Grand Slam over the Hardys, Best Friends, and the Kingdom. But we unfortunately heard the news that at the end of Grand Slam, when Adam Cole rushed down to the ring to be by MJF's side and jumped off the ramp, he blew out his ankle, broke it in 3 different places, so he will require surgery. They were on the verge of relinquishing the titles, but MJF, the consummate babyface, the face of the company, said that he will not let his best friend down. He knows how much these Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles mean to him, so he will fight the Righteous alone in a handicap match, and he will try to hold on to these titles for when Adam Cole returns. What did you think about the promo to set this up as a handicap match on Wednesday, and who do you think walks out with the gold on Sunday?
Well, this is an interesting place to start, right, for a range of reasons. It's a 2 straight pay-per-views where Max has been in, you could only describe as undercard tag matches. This one, of course, now, as you said, is a handicap. I was surprised they didn't do a deal where Cole convinced Roddy to team with Max. I kind of thought that's what they were going to do.
I thought that was where he was leading with the promo when Roddy came out. Like, he's your boy, so I thought he was going to say, so he could be my boy too and replace you at WrestleDream, but he didn't go that way.
Right, and I think that is a clue as to where we're going here. So the Righteous, I'm not I'm not enthralled by the Righteous generally thus far, but my genuine opinion on it is I think the tag division has a lot of acts that have been the same thing for a while and a kind of style, and I appreciate they're trying to start something new with the Righteous, even if it's not my first choice. It's a big spot for them. My read on this is I think the Righteous are going to be pretty much dominating this match. There may be some shenanigans, and I think the 4 masked men, minus the devil, right, the 4 guys that actually did, I think will appear and help Max win this match, therefore suggesting to the audience the devil must have been MJF, right? And then MJF can plead his innocence, and it probably isn't MJF, but that's the point of them helping him, right? It makes it seem like Max is the devil after all. So I think that's why it's not Roddy, because I think they're going to do something with the masked fellas we saw on Wednesday. As for the match, I don't think anyone's expecting a Mac Classic here. It's a handicap match against the Righteous. Like, it is what it is. the crowd will love it. MJF, everything he does is over. So more interesting from an angle perspective, I think. And that's my personal read. I think MJF over with a suspicious assistance from these mystery men. We'll see.
I 100% agree with you. I think that the mystery man will help them out, but it will be a twofold reasoning of to further the kind of the speculation that the devil is MJF, but the real reasoning is they want to protect the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles
Exactly.
for the Kingdom. It's this way. The Kingdom need to win the ROH World Tag Team titles, and the reason that they jumped Jay White is a twofold reason as well. One is because he concussed Adam Cole, and two is because he's in the way of Adam Cole eventually winning this AEW World Championship from MJF. Because what we have seen over the last couple of months is that this whole what Jay White said is kind of true. He says this friendship is making him soft. It's not making him soft, but it's definitely weakening him. He's wrestling more, wrestling twice in one night, got an injured neck because of Adam Cole. Now Adam Cole is out because of him. So yeah, I think that the story is going to be more fleshed out where the masked men do help out here. So I agree.
Yeah. It feels like the fact they shot the angle on the go home, it tells me they're probably going to have a presence on Sunday. Like, I don't think we're going to get a reveal by any means. That'd be too soon. But if you do it on the go home, it would suggest that, there's a reason you had to establish it before the pay-per-view, right? So
Yeah.
This will be interesting from a booking point of view, definitely.
And I do like that they're doing this more often, because this is twice now that they are starting like a big angle or storyline before the next pay-per-view. Because Adam Cole and MJF started before Forbidden Door, but they weren't even going to have their matchup until All In. And now this Jay White and MJF, they kind of seem like they're going towards full gear, and it starts right before WrestleDream.
Yeah, and I'm kind of for AEW experimenting with stories like this anyway. They've kind of flirted with these ideas before, but they always do them very kind of half-heartedly. Like, they let fans just guess and then go, "Here's who it is." I think it's clear Tony and his team are trying to like expand their playbook in terms of TV booking, which is necessary because there's only so many times you can interrupt someone to get a Rampage match, So I think it's a very fascinating time in that regard.
Absolutely. We got Nikki Boy agreeing with you, Joe, in the chat here. I do love the Righteous theme song. I see a couple of people mentioning the Righteous theme song. It's a finger snapper. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
It's pretty good.
We got Christopher, who says our scumbag has a devil on his shoulder helping him win. All of this is for Cole and his friends to win all of the gold. Yes, I call it the Undisputed Kingdom. I think because there's five guys. It's Roddy with the neck brace, the guy they zoomed in on. I've seen pictures online. It's the Kingdom. It's Adam Cole as the devil, and it's Kyle O'Reilly. I think the return of Kyle O'Reilly, because they've been very quiet as far as when Kyle O'Reilly is coming back. So I think the fifth guy will be Kyle O'Reilly.
I tend to agree, especially when we're looking at now. What has it been, like 15 months?
Yes.
So yeah, I tend to agree. That was an interesting element, the fact there were four other guys as well as the devil, and you can only go in. I don't think it's going to be Bobby Fish. So
we love it. Tell me where's the lie.
I'm in. It could be. My main thing of wrestling is, would it be funny? Yes, in. Give it to me. So
who would add to the hilarity that is Roderick Strong's new character? Bobby Fish. Yes. Bobby Fish.
God, yeah.
Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Like those two adding to this whole Roddy act. Oh my God.
Every time Roddy complains, he just yells, "Where's the lie?" And the people.
Adam, where's the lie? Oh, we got Christopher saying, give the viewers a reason to tune in next week besides just post pay-per-view excitement. Yeah, they need to make this kind of like an episodic type of thing where they're pulling back the layers of this story. And the scumbag having a devil on his shoulder, he now has two devils, because what Jay White explained is that he's been the devil on the devil's shoulder all this time. He's been the catalyst of everything that's happened to MJF over the last couple of months.
Absolutely. I'm very intrigued how they present Jay White moving forward after he was attacked, and would, like, he's not a babyface, obviously, but that's a unique spot to put a heel, right? So how he responds to that, I think, will be very interesting to look at on TV.
Yeah. And honestly, when before he was put up against opposite MJF, he was getting a lot of cheers. He
Yeah.
was getting a lot of cheers, and even his entrance on Wednesday got a big pop. But let's continue on with the rest of the matches here. Another multi-person matchup here, as we have a four-way tag team matchup with the winner getting an AEW World Tag Team title match any time of their choosing. We got the Young Bucks, we got the Guns, we got Orange Cassidy and Hook and Lucha Bros, three former AEW World Tag Team champions, and then the third team, kind of a mismatched team, but a former AEW International champion and the current FTW champion. So champions galore in this one. This should be a whole bunch of fun. It should be chaos. Who do you got winning, Joe?
I got the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to win and call their shot for the Forum, right, in LA. So that's my read on it. I wouldn't be surprised if they went elsewhere with this, because there's a bit of time until Full Gear, right? You've got like 5 or 6 weeks, so they could absolutely have the Guns or even Hook and Orange win and do a TV match, and then do the Bucks thing. But I think the Bucks will win, and this will be a party match, right? Like, I think we both know exactly what this match is going to look like already. So it will get over huge, and it'll be a fun addition to the pay-per-view in between more important, and extended matches. So it's a nice undercard kind of party match.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on everything. I think that the Bucks win this one to call their shot for Full Gear in Los Angeles at the Forum against FTR, so we can go into a new year with them 2-2 and requiring another rubber matchup. So I think that's the direction that they go, and it is about time that the Bucks get the tag team titles back, in my opinion. I feel like the tag team titles have been held by this latest reign of FTR, but having the Bucks as a follow-up is the way to keep it going and keep up the momentum from where we were before, like Double or Nothing. You remember our conversation about the tag team division before Double or Nothing, Joe?
Yeah,
it seems like so long ago now.
I do, yeah. The collision coming around really helped FTR's reign. They were kind of struggling before that. They didn't have much rhythm at all. And then Collision, they got rolling. I think they've had a really good reign in the end. I think my only concern with the Bucks is I do think they're much more compelling as heels. And them winning in LA would suggest to me they're going to win, like get a babyface win, which is fine. But I just think they're much better characters as heels. Like that run they had in 2021, like, good, that was one of the great tag team runs I've ever seen. And so that's one like slight concern. But ultimately, I agree with you. And FTR and the Bucks have had 3 matches, but they haven't had like a good feud yet. So
No,
we're still working on it,
I want them to have a concentrated build to Full Gear as well. That would be very nice. I suspect FTR is probably going to have another title match on TV before the pay-per-view, but kind of give them like 3-4 weeks to kind of build anticipation and have an actual feud that we were let down by in 2020. Didn't really get it in 2022 before the matchup on Dynamite. It didn't really get it before All In either. So
yeah, it's a really strange dynamic, right? Like it's kind of they don't seem to be able to figure out how to translate their online fans beef, the tribalism between to actual wrestling programming. They don't seem to be able to do it. Like the first instinct is to like yell about Meltzer, and that's not good TV, believe it or not. So yeah, they got a ways to go with that, but hopefully with more practice, the 4th try of it, they may crack it after all.
just give them an in-ring promo where they can go back and forth. I don't think they've done that yet. So that's another point of contention there. We got Negro Buck here saying it's nice to finally see Hook on the main card for a pay-per-view. That is different. I mean, I can go for days talking about the piss poor booking of Orange Cassidy since All Out. I did not think they can blow this as fast as they did, but they did. I'd rather have Orange Cassidy not on TV than get into a random tag team with Hook, and then he's thrown in this match to just get him on a pay-per-view. This seems like a waste of everything you did with the international title reign and the main event of All Out.
I honestly would have just taken him off for a month, and then because the story you were telling, it does make sense to like cycle him away for a little bit, because the whole story was he was beat up and tired. But you could also, if you took him off for a month, people would have had the chance to miss him, and then he could have come out and got a huge. Rather than just kind of like putting him on the bench almost or on the side, I think you'd been better off just taking him off completely, and then when you put him back in, it's a big feud. You know, it's a main event feud. But they do it a lot, right? They constantly rotate in a way that's kind of frustrating sometimes.
Very, very. And when it comes to Orange Cassidy, I can explain to
Yeah.
you how frustrating that is to watch. Negro Bug saying I could totally see the Guns winning though, and I wouldn't mind it. I also can see the Guns. That's the only other
Yeah.
team that I could see winning this one, but it already feels like the Guns should already had a title match because they beat
Right.
FTR in the 8-man at All Out.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly basically like started announcing that on TV. Do you remember when Kevin Kelly just for 2 weeks went rogue and was talking about the Guns versus FTR every week? I was like, what? It's not happening, Kevin. You're making it up. He's used to doing that. Anyway, carry on.
And Recon says there's at least 2 teams that don't need to be there. Easily could have been 2-on-2 between Bucks and Orange Hook. I don't agree with that because I feel like the thing that makes this match interesting is the fact that one of the greatest rivalries in AEW history, the Bucks and Lucha Bros, are in this matchup. And also the Guns are in this matchup because they do have that win over FTR in the 8-man tag. So the only team that doesn't make sense to be in this matchup is really Orange Cassidy and Hook when you really think about it.
Yeah, because they don't really make sense as a team to begin with, I guess, right? Yeah, it's an interesting. The way they do number one contendership in general is kind of insane to me. The way that it's every single time it's a different approach, but it's a party match. It'll be fun, I'm sure.
Indeed. We got Frantic World kind of saying the same thing. I can see the Guns or the Bucks getting the win. And yeah, we got Negro Buck saying, yeah, it's really lazy. SB3. 100%. 100% right, Joe, as well. Next up, we agree there, but let's see if we agree on this one. Another match that just got added to the card on Dynamite. It's going to be Ricky Starks going one-on-one with Wheeler Yuta. This is coming off the heels of Ricky Starks' fantastic Texas Death match against Bryan Danielson, where he came up short, but after the match, shook hands and embraced Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta tried to stop Ricky from getting to Bryan and wanted to apologize, but Ricky kind of blew him off, which led to some fire from Wheeler Yuta and a challenge for WrestleDream. He said that Bryan was able to beat him down and keep him down for 10 seconds, but every day he gets beat up by Bryan and the rest of the BCC and gets up. So we're going to see who's the better man between these two. What do you got here, Joe?
I got Ricky, and I really like this match being booked. I think this is like a type of match that AEW doesn't do enough on pay-per-view, where this is clearly a mid-card match that they're going to get 10 minutes in the middle, in between bigger matches, but it gives Ricky a win on pay-per-view, and it avoids the thing that we were just talking about, where Ricky gets cycled off immediately after getting some momentum. And like, it's one of those deals where do I think it's going to be a great match? No, because it's not going to be intended to be one. It's not going to be positioned that way. But there is, we were at the show in Chicago, and we both we didn't get a chance to talk about this because we met on. Did we meet Collision? When did we meet?
No. We met at
We met
All
pay-per-view.
Out.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was the middle of the show,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because one thing I was saying about that show afterwards was that show had actual mid-card matches, and it helped the show because it paced better. Not everything can be the biggest match in the history of wrestling, you need, and so I think this adds that, and you achieve Ricky getting a win. Yuta's promo, to your point, was really the best promo he's cut on TV, I think, by a distance. He felt like he'd grown up almost, right? Like he had a little more edge to it. So there's a lot to like here. I think it'll be a good match, and it'll probably settle in that range. But I like the booking, like the idea to do this a lot. I think it adds to the show, and it helps Ricky too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ricky Starks gets the victory, and I think this is further alonging what is going to be kind of overall the Ricky Starks versus Blackpool Combat Club feud. Like, he took Bryan to the limit in a strap match, in a Texas Death match, but he also pinned Bryan in tag team action. Yeah. Here, he has the opportunity to beat Wheeler Yuta. What I think is next is maybe a matchup or maybe even a small program on TV with Claudio before Moxley returns. Hopefully, we could get, I think that the whole direction they were going was Ricky Starks versus Jon Moxley for the international championship. So I would love for Ricky to get in somewhere and beat Phoenix for that international title and be the champion going into that program. But they have a lot of directions. I'm more optimistic about Ricky Starks' trajectory after the last couple of months than I was 6 months ago.
Yeah, definitely. He feels as close as he's ever been to like cementing himself as a real player. Very talented guy, but a lot of stop-start previously. He's had a real go of it here, and I think he's done a good job with it. It's going to be interesting where they settle on him, whether he's a babyface or a heel, because he seems to enjoy being the heel more and cuts better promos as a heel. But we have to be honest in saying the crowd they seem very ready to cheer him and have for around 2 years now, and he needs to figure out his biggest challenge. And I say this as a big fan of Ricky, but his biggest challenge is being the character he is as a heel, as a babyface, and making that work. That's always the biggest thing, right? Because his promos as a babyface were not nearly as, to me, impressive as they are as a heel. So that's a big thing for him, a kind of a hurdle for him to overcome, but very talented guy. And he's had a good Collision, helped him a lot, right, Ricky? So
yeah,
I'm optimistic too.
100% agree. I think he should be like the top 2, top 3 guy on Collision moving forward. Frantic World saying Ricky Starks for the win. I will say it again. Put Ricky Starks in BCC. I totally disagree with that. I don't think Ricky Starks needs to be in a group anymore.
Yeah.
He had his period in Team Taz. That's it for groups for him, unless he's the leader.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like Ricky. I mean, he obviously has the Big Bill thing, but Big Bill's just like his heater, so it's like he feels like his own man. I tend to agree. It was an interesting idea, though. That caught me off guard when Bryan started going in that direction. I was like, whoa, I did not see that coming. So I do wonder if that will come back up at some point.
We shall see. I feel like Ricky Starks and Big Bill give me Christian and Tyson Tomko vibes. That's what Christian Thompson Tomko from 2005 WWE. That was it. Negro Bug saying Ricky doesn't fit in BCC at all. That's the other thing. Like someone like Konosuke Takeshita, I made that make sense to me. That made sense to me when they was talking about him joining up, but I feel like they found a better role with him, kind of having Don Callis as his manager. But like with Ricky, I don't even see it at all.
Yeah, I also am not like totally convinced as to how long the Blackpool Combat Club will be like a real thing on TV, because it's a very difficult thing to book. And sometimes I do watch the TV shows and think like it weirdly undercuts the individual star power of the guys in the straight. Like I think Moxley has kind of left this whole thing feeling like less of a star than he entered it, which is just the way wrestling works sometimes, you know? Like, I mean, it's not an indication of his talent or the act. It's a great act. But it has been challenging, I think, for AEW to book. I think that's been pretty clear. So we'll see in terms of BCC in general, I think.
Yeah, I think they kind of overshot their heel run because they put them against the biggest baby faces they could face. So it was nowhere else to go for them as heels. So that's why they're baby faces again. Because they literally did the biggest rivalry they could with them as heels. So there was no reason to keep them as heels.
Right, and the turn back was weird because Dragon's turn was just he returned. Moxley, he didn't really turn so much as he was like a babyface on Collision.
Yes, he helped Bryan. Yeah. That was how he turned back.
Right, and Claudio's turn, I guess, was that he shook Eddie's hand, but like, he's still a dick, you know? Like, I mean, with love, you know. I'm talking about the character here, folks. Seems like a gentleman, but you know, it's a bit of a weird dynamic right now. So I think they need to figure out some of those pieces too before they start adding, to be honest. Yeah.
I love it. And yeah, that's another one that we thought was going to join BCC. And Raka saying Daniel Garcia is the pick if you want to add someone. Give Danielson a large adult son and rejuvenate Danny. That would be great. That would be great. Yeah, but
I would like to see Garcia do anything at this point would be fun, right?
You know, like, dude, let him do something, please. And no, Valaby, the answer is not leave Danny to be on his own, because as you see, they don't really use Danny if he's on his own.
It's a shame.
We'll go next to the next matchup, which I think I would go as far to say this is the best built women's match they've ever had on pay-per-view, or at least in the last like year. On pay-per-view. We got here Chris Statlander defending the TBS championship against Julia Hart. Chris Statlander has had a hell of a run since winning the championship at Double or Nothing from Jade Cargo on her return in just a few seconds. She's gotten her win back and beat Jade Cargo again on Rampage in a great match, Jade's best match of her career. Then followed that up by main eventing Collision, back-to-back nights main eventing Rampage and Collision, beating Dr. Bitbreaker DMD to retain the TBS championship. She's beaten Ruby Soho, she's beaten Anna Jay, she's beaten Nyla Rose, but no one seems to be the threat of Julia Hart, who in just a matter of weeks has become an unstoppable force of the women's division with victories over Willow Nightingale, Kiera Hogan, and Sky Blue, and Brody King by her side, where if you see Julia Hart, 5'0" blonde little girl next to big monster Brody King, you would think Julia's the handler and Brody is the monster. But how they book this is Brody is the handler and Julia's the monster tearing through everybody. And Brody is warning everybody she's the real monster. I love it. I love it. And it has not only been a big thing for me, apparently the fans are answering to it on a Collision episode that did its highest rating since July, that had Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks in a Texas death match in the main event, had FTR in a tag team title match, had Jay White and Andrade El Idolo in a matchup, and Julia Hart versus Kiera Hogan was the highest quarter hour of that show. She is a draw in the ratings, it seems. She's getting over with the audience. The entrance is one of the coolest in wrestling. Is it time for Julia Hart to be crowned, or do you continue the good reign of Chris Statlander? This feels like the toughest choice for Tony Khan on this whole card for me. I feel like this is the biggest unpredictable kind of like toss-up of any match on this card.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you stick with Chris Statlander, but the fact that we are debating this sincerely and are unsure says a lot about how far Julia Hart has come. If you told me a month ago that we'd be doing this preview show, and I'd be like, maybe Julia should win, like, I would have been pretty stunned. I'd be asking what substances I was on, but I'm on no substances, and I'm thinking this way. So it's very, it's really quite impressive what she's done with this character. This is a very hard character to pull off. And as you said, it's getting over. I mean, she had a louder chance than Willow on Wednesday, and Willow is beloved. So I think it's fair to say if she won, I don't think any of us could really complain, which is wild. She's 21 and she's had how many matches of note? I still think I lean Chris because I think she's having a great reign and she really looks like she's in a great rhythm here. In that sense, it's a real, it's a good spot for Julia. And if you're going to have a big match like this as a young wrestler, Chris seems like the perfect opponent right now, right? You mentioned like she had Jade's best match. She had a match with Britt better than anything Britt's done in a while. So I think Chris wins, but it says a lot about Julia Hart that I think there is a real debate to be had, considering how new she is to this kind of scene. So very interesting. I really hope the match goes well. I think it might.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of building up both women in the build up to this match, to this matchup here with the two great title defenses for Chris Statlander, and then spending the last 2 weeks really building up Julia Hart and emphasizing this whole winning streak. This winning streak that started after she lost to Chris Statlander on an episode of AEW Dark Elevation. So this is long-term storytelling, ladies and gentlemen. I love when AEW is able to do that, and they did that here. So I'm gonna you know what? I'm gonna go for it. Julia Hart, new TBS champion. You go with the hot hand. What Tony Khan has always said is his big obstacle with booking the women is that it doesn't draw. She has drawn, so you go with the hot hand. Go with the hot hand. Go with Julia. Let Chris chase. Or I would honestly, after this good run where she done it in like 3 months with the TBS title, I would move Chris up to the championship scene.
Yeah, you could absolutely. Yeah, I can't. It's genuinely amazing that we're doing this conversation. I think you could, if she wins, you kind of have to say fair. That's fair enough. She's getting over big, and their biggest challenge, we talked about Ricky earlier, their biggest challenge is going to be keeping her as she's a baby face, man. Julia's like, she is a cool factor. It's kind of amazing how this is all panned out. So credit to her. Absolutely.
Yo, I saw a post on Twitter. I gotta echo it here. Should Tony have a serious conversation with Malachi and Brody and be like, "Hey, what do you guys want? Do you guys want to do like a singles run here? There's plenty of people for you to work with, or do you guys just want to go and be with your significant others?" Because he's got an act with this House of Black that works. This is the most over the House of Black has felt with just Julia and Brody more than with
Yeah.
all of the guys there.
I would recommend a lot of serious conversations with Malachi Black at this point. I don't know, buddy. I mean, he seemed at one point to be on board, but at this point, I think he's just kind of, I'll do whatever was going on.
He's like, I
don't
really
know,
want to
man.
join the Judgment Day, honestly.
I'm like, I totally get the precedent of letting guys out of their contract and why it's bad or whatever, but if you've got Malachi Black on a 7-year, whatever the 18-year contract, whatever he signed, and he's wrestling one singles match every decade, it's like it might be worth just saying, "Yeah, all right, man, you can go." You know,
Yeah.
I do think wrestling was a certain way in the US for so long that people have lost sight of. It can be kind of normal to just let wrestlers go back and forth. It's not the end of the world, you know. Malachi Black's very talented, but I mean, he's not doing anything on the TV show. So what's the point at some juncture, right? But yeah, I mean, so what you're asking, it certainly helps that they've now got two pieces of this act that are like kind of rolling in their own weird dynamic. So yeah, time will tell. I mean, we'll see if they bring them back as a trio again. It'll be interesting.
People have to think about it this way. Yeah, Cody came back to WWE, got this big push, gets the main event WrestleMania, gets to win the Royal Rumble. He's their top baby face. A lot of that comes down to how AEW was able to present him as the top baby face in 2019 and always kept him in top programs throughout his entire run, despite how the fans, viewed him. Jade Cargill, they had her in the PC years ago and had her try out and did not pick her up. And then she comes to AEW, gets the undefeated streak, trains with Bryan Danielson, TBS championship. They created a whole damn title for her undefeated streak, all this stuff. And now she gets the red carpet to WWE with the ESPN covering everything. Honestly, though, if Tony let go Malachi Black, is Malachi Black going to get that same treatment? No, because AEW did not book him the same way they booked Cody and Jade. So I don't think he's going to get a top spot back at WWE if you let him go and go back. So it's really not that bad if you let him go.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, even if he got a big spot, as talented as he is, it's not like he's going to move ratings or it's not like it's going to be this sort of, catastrophic. But it's one of those deals where I think people forget that once upon a time, the guys who stayed in one promotion were the outliers. And now it's become the opposite where everyone sticks around forever in one place. We're how far away from like the Miz having a 25-year anniversary? I mean, it's outrageous now. It's like he probably is genuinely almost at 20 years, which is incredible. I was doing a bit.
And I started in 2005. We're 2 years away.
It's almost there. So and I just use an example, but yeah, I think there's a good chance that if Malachi went back, he'd be rejuvenated, and that's good for us as wrestling fans. But obviously, again, precedent. I get it on some level, but either way. To back to your core point, I'm sorry for hijacking the program. There was a Monday Night Wars rant, but either way, they got sent with Julia and Brody, and that's what they should be focusing on right now for sure.
100% agreed there. And someone else we usually agree on is the new Ring of Honor World Champion and the current NJPW Strong Openweight Champion Eddie Kingston, who made history becoming double champion at Grand Slam, and now he wants to repeat that history and defend both of his titles against the Ring of Honor Pure Champion Kazuchika Shibata. This is a match that probably Eddie Kingston has dreamt of for years on a show dedicated to a legend of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He faces another legend of New Japan Pro Wrestling, who walks out with the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship and Ring of Honor World Title. How do you think this match pans out?
I've definitely got Eddie to win. This is a fascinating match in that it both makes lots of sense, but also kind of makes you double think, like, it's a weird one, right? Like when it appeared on because I didn't watch the show it was announced on until after. When I saw the graphic, I was like, that both works, but also seems kind of jarring. Just because of the way that Shibata wrestles now, right? Obviously, he's in a different point of his career, to say the least. So I'm intrigued as to what they come up with in terms of the middle ground between their styles in 2023. Now, they're both super smart in terms of their pro wrestling psychology, so I think they'll figure it out, and the crowd will love it. Um, this may, I think this is going to go like 12 to 15, and this is probably going to rock, to be honest, especially if it's early in the show, because this is one of those matches the live crowd may kind of transform. This is going to have a real vibe to it. So I'm excited for this. Happy for Eddie as always. Always good to see Shibata on a big stage. I think the result is I think Eddie's winning this one. I'm pretty confident of that. As funny as it would be for Shibata to be Triple Crown champion, I think he's cool just doing the pure title thing for now. So I got Eddie for sure.
Yeah, if they really want to add some doubt to this matchup, they would have added the pure title to this one. But I think because it's Eddie's titles only on the line, I'm going to agree with you. I think Eddie Kingston gets the win. And as someone, I was there live last year at All Out for Eddie Kingston versus Tomohiro Ishii. Got to see Eddie Kingston in the G1 with the classics against Ishii, against Shingo Takagi. I think that is going to be more akin to what we see on Sunday with him and Katsuyori Shibata. I expect Eddie to get down in his cross-leg sitting position and trade some slaps with the wrestler. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Eddie Kingston gets the win. Bunch of people is talking about a couple of things we've been talking about here. We got Adrian who says trade Malachi for AJ Styles. I like that trade. I'll be honest.
Trades.
Yes.
Imagine the money we'd make with trades in wrestling. Dude. We would just do a weekly show. Just talking trades. Trade machine, just running names through, seeing if it works.
Like, if we really think about it in our brain, I think we can work out how these trades have worked already in the time span of AEW. Like I think, like, in my mind, it's Punk, Bryan, and Cole for Cody. And now we got a situation where it's looking like Jade for Edge and Mercedes.
I think it's Jade for Mercedes, but I think the guy that you just mentioned from Chicago may be the guy that's being traded for Edge.
Yeah, that's like the James Harden or Russell Westbrook being a part of your trade from 3 years ago. Like, you don't have that guy anymore.
It's like, I was looking at this the other day. Edge, I think going to come into AEW, and I think he's going to like kind of fill the CM Punk role, which is hilarious. Like, I think he's going to do like trios matches with FTR and stuff. And I'm kind of convinced that the other way.
He's going to do that. Rated FTR.
100%. And I also think there's a real chance that in the opposite direction, Punk takes the part-time schedule up there, and that's going to be a riot, let me tell you. So that may be the funniest trade in wrestling history if that comes to fruition. 50-year-old Edge for 45-year-old CM Punk. This is the game I love,
having
brother.
A year-long storyline with Judgment Day.
Oh my God. You know what though? The Dominic Mysterio thing could be great just for the crowd. Can you imagine the crowd for that deal? We'll
do it
see.
In Chicago.
Maybe.
Do it in Chicago.
Maybe.
I love it. Oh, we got Balabi saying loaning talent too. Well, we already see that with AEW. AEW has basically created the whole loaning of talent is already a thing. We're talking about full-on trades and actual trades. Now how WWE thinks you could trade people, because Jey Uso got traded from SmackDown to Raw, and SmackDown still don't know who they got in return. That's not how trades work.
Remember when they did the one where it was draft considerations? Remember that one? I just imagining like Dave logging on at 1 a.m. tweeting breaking trade agreed, and immediately everyone goes live. Oh shit!
No, it would be Sean and Dave. And Dave would be Woj Shams.
100%.
It would be so great. Oh my God, I would love it. We need to do a mock of them.
we did one time. We did a show on the Late Night Grin where we had like a team WWE and a team AEW, and of course, it being the Late Night Grin, one team came very prepared with a notepad, and the other one just kind of just threw their hands up. Oh, fuck it, we'll take them. Yeah. So it didn't pan out, but yeah, there's money to be made here.
There is. We need those trades, y'all. We need the good trades. We got Christopher saying contracts and money involved for sure with these trades. Yeah. NBA level, yes.
Absolutely. You'd have the plot line of like the expiring contracts too. Sheamus has got like 6 months left on his deal. His value's down, man. We've got to flip him for the guns. But anyway, we're back at WrestleDream.
Value's down. We gotta flip up for the guys. That would be the line. That would be the discourse. I love it. AEW World Tag Team titles will be up for grabs on Sunday. FTR will defend against Aussie Open 1 year to the date from their all-time classic at Royal Quest 2 in London, England on October 1st, 2022. They will run it back in AEW here. Aussie Open cut an excellent promo on Collision saying that they haven't been themselves the last couple of months, but they will prove that they are one of the best tag teams in the world this Sunday, while FTR says they want the baddest version of Aussie Open that they haven't seen as of late, because we haven't. Aussie Open lost the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles to Better Than You, baby, at All In. And then in one of the stupid, I'm pretty sure this is like top 3 stupidest booking decisions of Tony Khan's 2023 is weeks before you put Aussie Open in a tag team title match at a pay-per-view, they lost to the Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, mere weeks before they broke up. Tell me where that's supposed to make sense, Tony. But here we are. FTR, Aussie Open 2. Who you got?
I've got FTR, but this is a huge match for Aussie Open for the reason you just talked about. Like, fair or unfair, they've kind of been put in a corner here by the booking. And the angle leading to the match is actively, you guys need to be good in this match, right? Which is purely because they've been booked a certain way. But that's just the way it's gone. And this, I was there. I was lucky enough to be there for their first match. One of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen live. And we all know what the ceiling on this match is. They're not going to get as much time here. They had like 35 minutes that night. They're probably going to get 20, I think. The ceiling on this is like the match of the night, right? This could be spectacular. The only concern I have is I just hope the AEW audience, or the folks in attendance on Sunday anyway, see this as a big deal. Because for all the reasons you just laid out, they could very fairly see this as not a big deal, because Aussie Open have not been treated as one, you know? Yeah. That's a slight concern I have, especially if they do a long heat segment or they take their time and work an epic. But ultimately, there's a lot of talent here. Mark Davis and Dax are going to chop each other at some point. This is going to be great. I think FTR win. Aussie Open will get those belts eventually, but this isn't about winning to me for Aussie Open. This is about making a statement and reminding the people of what we just talked about, which is that they belong on this level. So, big time match. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity for Aussie Open, the biggest opportunity they've gotten yet as far as getting a headline type matchup with one of the best tag teams in the world, with the AEW World Tag Team titles up for grabs. And they're facing their best opponents that they could possibly verse, a team that they had an all-time classic with in the main event of NJPW World Quest 2. If you haven't watched that, you weren't there live like Joel Hulbert, it's over at New Japan Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel for free, so you could check it out before this Sunday. And I do agree with you, like, the bar on this is 5 stars. This could be one of the best tag team matches in AEW history, but it's all about Aussie Open stepping into it, and I think they can. I would say the first quarter of this year, they were my tag team of the year. Before Mark Davis goes down, they were the tag team of the year, but they need to show that here. They need to show what they did against Bishamon earlier this year, what they showed against the Young Bucks on Rampage, and what they showed against FTR last year. They got to show it here. But in the end, yes, I agree. FTR gets the win, because got to run back FTR Bucks 4 at Full Gear.
Yeah, that feels like the destination. I would agree. And I think we both, again, Aussie Open will get those belts, right? If things trend the way we expect. But this is about kind of getting back where they entered, honestly, as a truly top team. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. We got Vala B saying, I'm going with Aussie Open. Crowns up. On for the upset. That's fair. That's fair. That'd be the quickest way to get them back to where they were. Christopher saying this is going to be a masterclass. I want Don Callis family to recruit Aussie Open after this and start the redemption story for them in the tag team division. I would love that. That makes a whole bunch of sense with Osprey and Don Callis family for them to recruit Aussie Open. And If they don't feel confident Aussie Open cutting their promos all the time, let that heat magnet Don Callis do it.
Yeah, I think that probably will kind of just organically be the way it's presented, especially if Osprey comes over full time, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would expect that, honestly.
And speaking of the Don Callis family, they will be in action at WrestleDream in full force as Sammy Guevara, Konosuke Takeshita, and the IWGP United Kingdom, United States heavyweight champion Will Osprey will all team up in a trios matchup against the main rivals of the Don Callis family, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi. Of course, it was Don Callis that betrayed Omega and then went on to recruit Konosuke Takeshita to also betray Kenny. And then Konosuke Takeshita beat Kenny Omega twice in 1 week at All In and All Out, including that incredible matchup at All Out where Takeshita beat Omega one-on-one. Omega was gone since then until returning at Rampage Grand Slam, where he made the save for Chris Jericho, who has been in the line of fire of the Don Callis family. But after it looked like he was going to join the family, but Callis betrayed him, aligned himself with Will Osprey, who beat Jericho at All In, and then Don Callis manipulated and recruited Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho's protege, to join his side, leading to Sammy turning on Jericho after losing to him at Grand Slam. You got the history between Kota Ibushi and Osprey in this matchup, history between Osprey and Takeshita, especially after this past Wednesday where we saw footage of Don Callis and Takeshita invading Kota Ibushi's gym in Tokyo and beating him down, knocking him out with a kettlebell and choking him with a jacket. So Don Callis family have personal vendettas with everybody in this matchup. This feels like the All-Star Trios matchup to end all All-Star Trios matchup, and another match that should probably have a bar of 5 stars when you have Kenny Omega, Will Osprey, Konosuke Takeshita. Chris Jericho can always move up to whoever his competition is in the ring, and he's not going to be asked for much in this trios matchup. Sammy Guevara always shows out in these big matchups, and Kota Ibushi, I think that he needs to tap into the old Kota Ibushi and not the Ibushi we saw at All In. So, what do you think about this matchup here, and who do you think wins?
I think Don Callis' family has to win after Sammy just turned, right? He lost the match before his turn. So I think you see Sammy maybe get his win on Jericho back, or you see, Takeshita pin Ibushi, maybe something to that effect. Now, the match, I agree with you. The ceiling on this is very high. This will probably be great, especially if it's placed kind of favorably. The match at Wembley was good, but didn't reach its ceiling because I was a strange choice to put on second, honestly. So this should be very good. I have the entire story has kind of got some issues for me, and the Jericho Sammy part of it is like, I don't know if I need much more of it, but inside the ropes, I think it'll be great, and I think this will be a real crowd pleaser. And to your point, Sammy Guevara will probably steal the show here because he's great in these multi-man matches where you can just highlight his high spots, right? Like you can highlight his big hits. We've seen that a million times over. So I think he'll have a big night. Whether this is going to be the act that he finally becomes the guy they want him to be or not, we'll see. But I think he'll have a big night on Sunday. I think it'll be very good. I got Don Callis family.
I am going to agree with you. I thought that putting Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega together for the first time on a team, I thought this was signaling for Don Callis family to finally have a crack in their armor. But I then thought about this. Omega has lost all his pay-per-view matches this year, and also Jericho has lost all his pay-per-view matches this year.
Wow.
And I think they are leading to them being in a position where they have to win to complete the year with at least one pay-per-view win at Full Gear when it's Jericho versus Guevara again and Takeshita versus Omega 2. I think that the Don Callis family gets the win, especially like you said. I think that Sammy Guevara pinning Chris Jericho is the result to do here because that adds more heat and sets up the natural rematch at Full Gear.
Yeah, which I hope when they do that, I would like them to give that a stipulation of some kind, just to give it a little more juice, Like the match at Off Rash was very kind of tame, I thought. And I get that was part of the story because they were still friends. But I think you'd be well served to give them something that allows Sammy to kind of go nuts when you do the rematch. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yes, I'm interested in both of them. I think both of those matches. I think they're going to do both of those matches. And I think both of those matches need a stipulation.
Yeah.
I think Omega Takeshita, same thing, and Jericho and Sammy. But man, well, Osprey and Omega is going to be in the ring together again. Yeah, I think I already am started to think about end of year, and I think that Omega and Osprey have already sewn up match of the year and feud of the year. So I think
Yeah.
being in this matchup will just add to that.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. It's Osprey's had a huge year. I was looking at the Suji match on last week, and I was looking at like where it ranked on his year, and I was kind of like, well, I mean, it's just like another match for him at this point. It's kind of absurd, honestly. But yeah, that'll be a big reaction when they both tag in Omega and Osprey. That will get a huge reaction. So that'll be a cool moment on Sunday.
No one's doing what Osprey's doing. The fact that he had
Yeah.
that Suji match a week after having the match in Kurgan Hall with Marufuji, which was phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
And then this month of October, he got this matchup. Then he's going to England for Zack Sabre Jr. at Royal Quest. And then he goes to Chicago for Speedball Mike Bailey at Impact Bound for Glory. That's all in 1 month, ladies and gentlemen.
Is Bound for Glory on a Sunday this year, or are they doing that thing where they go against other shows again?
It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
So it's going against Collision, but not that
Collision.
bad.
Yeah, because that thing they were doing for a while, they did the Friday night.
I hated that.
It was there's dudes that cover it. I actually like to cover other promotions, but it's like, good lord, man, are you trying to kill me here? It's a Friday night.
I was like, I do have to cover WWE and AEW, so you want to add that on top? Like, we couldn't put and most of the times when they do Friday, it's on a free weekend. It's like, you couldn't do Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday's better at least, so good for them.
Jesus.
Good for them.
And Adrian saying Billy the GOAT for Wrestler of the Year. I think this is one of the more toss-up Wrestler of the Year. It depends on what you're looking for in Wrestler of the Year. I tend to look at overall drawing power, matches, how you're positioning your company, accolades. I look at it all, but some people will focus on one thing over the other. Right. And if you focus on in-ring work, yeah, it's easy. Will Osprey, Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to. I don't know who would be your. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you who you got?
I can make my candidates known right now. I think it's Osprey's in there, MJF, Orange Cassidy, Gunther. Only because he's a drawing power, not because he's been here that often. Roman Reigns, he's kind of got to be in that talk. Like this is the most. Last year, it really came down to three guys. It was Osprey, Moxley, and Roman for like the last 6 months of the year. Pretty much, they were battling, and I would think each one was the Wrestler of the Year. This one, I have 5 right now that I just said. I probably could keep going with like Okada. And Kenny Omega, I think is at a very underrated 2023. Yes. When you look at anytime he's been in a singles match, if you average out his star ratings for singles matches, it's 5 stars. So like he has to be in that conversation as well. Zack Sabre Jr. with the TV title, what he's done in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Naito won the G1. Like there is you can have a conversation of 10 guys for Wrestler of the Year this year.
Yeah, that's fair. I hadn't really considered it, and we're pretty close now, so that'll be a conversation to follow here in a couple of months. I'm very bad at that. I get around to thinking about that in February of the following year. I'm like, who did win that last year, folks? So that's interesting. Yeah.
Danielson, yeah, that would be in my 10. Yeah, I still had figures left, so yeah, Danielson's another one who could be in that conversation.
The start of the year, Danielson was insane. He had it honestly physically affected him. You could tell he wasn't the same afterwards for a while. So yeah, I mean,
he did all those singles matches. That has the greatest Iron Man match of all time, and that was just like, okay, we used up all that meter. We had a full green meter at the beginning of the year. We used it up by March.
he had his hand on the sprint trigger. It was just up and down. Yeah, man. Rim's career was crazy. Yeah. He's had a lot of great matches this year for sure.
And then you can even go for past like Ted, like Armand saying Eddie
Yeah.
Kingston. Eddie Kingston's had a great year. Yeah, you could make an argument for Eddie. You can make an argument for Elio Del Vikingo as well.
Mhm.
Like there is a lot. It's
Yeah.
probably the deepest year as far as wrestler of the year candidates. But
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting.
we shall see if Sunday will be a factor in it. And someone else who I think, like I said, it depends on what you value as far as wrestler of the year. Someone who I think has an argument as well, just based on character alone. The TNT champion, Christian Cage. He will defend his championship, his rightful and official championship now. Christian Cage, what are you talking about? I've been champion for a very long time. I just returned to my title this past Saturday. Christian Cage will defend against Darby Allin in a best 2 out of 3 falls match in Darby's hometown of Seattle, Washington. This has been building up over the last couple of months ever since Christian Cage has targeted Darby Allin after Darby Allin won the Royal Rampage to get a shot at the TNT championship at All Out. Christian and Luchasaurus have targeted him as well as Nick Wayne, with Christian feeling that someone with a dead father deserves a mentor like Christian Cage, and that led to Christian distracting Darby and led to him losing to Luchasaurus at All Out. From there, the two men also met in a singles matchup on Collision, with Darby getting the win. And then Darby also got the win over Christian at Rampage Grand Slam when him and Sting defeated Luchasaurus and Christian Cage. But he wasn't able to beat Christian when the title was on the line in a triple threat match, as Christian took advantage of Darby hitting the coffin drop on Luchasaurus and stole the pin from him. And now it is all personal. Christian has invited Darby's family to be there. He wants Nick Wayne at ringside, but Darby says no, he won't have Nick Wayne at ringside. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need Nick Wayne, and he wants to see if Christian doesn't need Luchasaurus, which Christian Cage agreed. So everything is on the line this Sunday. 2 out of 3 falls, TNT championship. Who gets the win? And does someone debut either during this matchup or after this matchup?
I do think there is a factor that may give Darby the edge on Sunday, folks, but we'll have to cope with it.
Well done. We gotta cope with it.
We were, if we were in Chicago, my friends, we were plotting like, what is the catchphrase? And one of us, it was not me, but I will not name them, but they said it has to be. If you don't like it, you're just gonna have to cope with it. And it still makes me laugh just the memory of that. But man, this is my most anticipated match of the night. I can't wait for this match. I loved their match on Collision. I love this entire program. It's nice to see AEW get some juice out of a dynamic like this rather than just doing a one and done. Been a lot of good TV out of this, both on the microphone and in the ring. 2 out of 3 falls. I think this could be incredible. I think the finish genuinely is that there's a ref bump of some kind. Christian's about to do something nefarious, and then that memorable, familiar theme song plays, and Edge appears and costs Christian the match as a babyface. Because I think what you do is, I think he feuds with Christian, and then that feud brings them together as a babyface team. There are many ways to book Edge as a heel, but look, people just love Edge so much. Yeah. I think you just got to let him be a babyface. So I think you do the feud, and then they're a babyface team. I'm really excited, man. Like, Edge aside, I mean, Edge thing's cool, but I just want to see these two dudes wrestle again. Their match on Collision was great. So super, super excited for this. I got Darby winning the belt, though.
Yes. This is the type of matchup where it's like Eddie Kingston versus Claudio Castagnoli in New York at Grand Slam. It either needs to open the show or it needs to close the show. And I feel like this is a great opener to have. It's going to be such pure wrestling because they focus on that with that promo, that sit-down interview. Can I just say, was terrific. It was just so great. Christian just playing his character. Darby bringing up the fire, bringing up the passion in his promo, wiping off the paint. I thought both guys did an excellent job. And like you said, this program has everybody is raving about the program. It's raving about Christian's character. Like I said, Christian has an argument for Wrestler of the Year just based on character work alone. Yeah. He's been the best character in wrestling, honestly, and that not named Roger Strong or Tony Storm. But like Christian just mentioning someone's dead dad that just going after the delusional TNT champion. He has just been on fire and doing the best character work amazingly of his near 30-year career. So that is insane to think about. But I agree with you with the direction. I think that Darby Allin gets the win. We got a new TNT champion in his hometown. You get the big pop, the big moment. After the matchup, we get a classic Christian Cage meltdown. Like when he was the baby and he melts down, he's finally lost the TNT championship. And then we hear, on this day, I see clearly.
That works. Yeah, I like it.
And
Absolutely.
Edge comes out. He tries to console him, but Christian doesn't want to hear anything of it. And I agree with you. It leads to a feud between the two, a match in Los Angeles at Full Gear that leads to them eventually being partners. It's like Cody and Dustin. But I think it's Cody and Dustin, the heel version. I think they're both going to be heels. And I think that we might even go to the point of maybe we get a Christian and MJF program or an Edge and MJF program. I could see them getting up into the main event scene. And I would love it because everybody's so high on Christian apparently backstage. If Christian was the main guy and Edge was his lackey, like a reverse of 2001 where Edge is holding the King of the Ring trophy for Christian.
Absolutely. I will say, if they're going to do those feuds, MJF, he needs to get himself some good lifts, brother. Needs to get himself a little, get some camera tricks. You need to do some things because Edge is going to tower over some guys in AEW. Like Christian already does, and that's strange because I don't think any of us ever thought Christian's a big guy, but it happens. So
same thing happened when he went to TNA. Remember how he looked next to AJ Styles?
Yeah, it's like. It always pops me when he's next to Luchasaurus because Luchasaurus is the monster and he's like an inch. And they're basically the same size. It's very, but that's wrestling. I love it.
I love it as well. We got Adrian who says, I think Adam Copeland will be presented by Tony Schiavone like Jay Lethal and Swerve debuts. Nah, I'm sorry. He has to be involved in something. Yeah. Something Christian wise.
You got to hit the music cold too. Yeah. I think you got to it's such an iconic theme. Like I think you just got to hit boom and people pop. Right, you have to do that. I think, but
I remember both of those debuts. But do I remember Sting's debut more? Yes, because they did
exactly. Yeah. I think he's the kind of talent you give the big one to, not like just the formal introduction. Do we assume he'll be Adam Copeland? Is that I feel like that's his name, right? He's just gonna go with because he's acting and stuff. So
I've been on the rated R superstar Adam Cage. They're brothers again.
They're brothers again.
I mean, but I do agree with you because he does the acting in my Adam the Edge Copeland.
Yeah. Adam Cope is funnier. He should just do Adam Cope. His brand should be Cope in big letters.
Hope with him.
Yeah.
Next up, we got a singles program that I have just been so excited about since the first promo these two guys had. It's a grudge match. Swerve Strickland going one-on-one with Hangman Adam Page. It was following All Out and Hangman Adam Page winning the over-the-budget Battle Royal for charity to the Chicago Education Fund. Swerve Strickland interrupted his kind of speech afterwards on Dynamite and accused Hangman Adam Page as kind of resting on his laurels and not improving himself and not being the old Hangman that was the AEW World Champion and him wanting Hangman's spot. Hangman has fought against that and been showing some fire over the last couple of weeks with victories over Brian Cage, as well as him and the Young Bucks defeating Mogul Embassy to win the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles at Rampage Grand Slam. But Swerve is still in Hangman's head, and Hangman describes the last year and a half as having a black cloud over him, and that losing the AEW World Championship took something from him. And despite all the good things, beating Moxley previously in the Texas Death Match, reuniting with his friends in the Elite, winning those Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles. He still has that black cloud, but wrestling, he will wrestle that black cloud away against Swerve in Seattle. But Swerve warns him that this is Swerve's house. He is from the Seattle, Washington area, and it rains a lot in Seattle. I think these guys knocked the closing promo contract signing out the park, set their characters up very beautifully for a big grudge match showdown on Sunday. Who do you got winning, Joe?
I think Swerve has to win this match. I really do. I think it's a pivotal. Swerve wins. He's done an awful lot of good this year from a performance point of view, but he hasn't got many big wins, right? This is a chance to give him one, especially because it suits the story anyway for Hangman to drop this one. So very excited for this. They've done a great job with the build. Both guys, I think they've told a compelling story. And this is an example of where the pay-per-view schedule, I think, helps because they've been able to really just get direct with this. What's the issue? When are they wrestling? That's all I need to know, So they've done a great job with this. Swerve is, much like Ricky Starks, I think, closer than ever to being a real player, which is big time. So I think he gets the win here. And I don't think it's nearly done. I think this will go on for a little bit longer, and hopefully so. But this has got show stealer potential, right? And the atmosphere for this could be electric. I mean, it should be, honestly. This should have a great big fight feel. So I'm ready for this one for sure. I got Swerve.
I also got Swerve getting the win, and I also agree this feels like the first chapter of a longer story. I feel like these guys will fight until Full Gear, and after the first promo, that's pretty much what I said. I think this is the prototypical AEW two-match series. The two-match series that sets up the third match to be bigger and probably for a title down the road. But I think Swerve wins here in his hometown of Seattle, Washington, and then Hangman gets his win back at Full Gear, and then I want Swerve to be the AEW World Champion when you run this match back maybe a year from now.
I love it, man. I mean, especially if Max is gonna stay babyface, which is kind of, that's where we're trending, right? To say the least. I think you're looking at, on the heel side, it's Jay White, it's Swerve, and for now it's Ricky Starks. I think they're the guys to circle. So he's in the conversation, absolutely.
100% agree with you there. We got Negro Buck saying a black cloud named Phil. Yeah, I was like, you ain't slick, Hangman. I know what that black cloud's name is.
It was a very good promo, though, I must say. Very good. I saw people getting having their feelings. I was like, that was a good wrestling promo,
you know? I was like, it's also been a year and a half since he lost the title. I was like, it can also be about Hangman's anxiety-ridden character. Like, come on, what are we talking about?
Absolutely.
We got Valabi says time for a hanger banger. That's what we're gonna get on Sunday. So many of these matches seems like it's gonna be like 4 stars, 4.5,
great,
4
it's a great
4
card.
3/4, 5 stars. Jesus. And another one that has a bar for 5 stars is the main event, Joe, the dream match. Bryan Danielson going one-on-one with New Japan Pro Wrestling World Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr. Bryan Danielson made the speech following All Out that he was winding down his career thanks to a promise to his daughter that he told her he would finish his in-ring career when she turned 7. And she is 6 years old now. So he says for the next year, he's going to be calling the big shots. And his first shot that he called was for Seattle, Washington, in his home state of Washington, the main event of WrestleDream, Zack Sabre Jr., the man he was scheduled to face at Forbidden Door 1 last year. We run that match finally a year and a half later at WrestleDream. This seems like the perfect environment. The atmosphere will be amazing in Washington. And Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson are the premier technical wrestlers of the past 2 decades. I don't think that we've ever seen such 2 critically acclaimed technical wrestlers in the ring together since the days of the Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle classics in WWE, since Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko had their classics in ECW. This seems like we're going to get something akin to that this Sunday in the main event. Who do you got winning, and what do you think about this match overall?
Super, super excited. I mean, you laid out perfectly there, man. This is special. Like, how many, in fear of going too inside baseball on a wrestling podcast, how many straight technical wrestler awards of these two won, one of the other. Like it's like 20, it's like the last 15 years, it's one of them who's won it. So you know what you're gonna get here stylistically. The thing that pops me with Bryan is he's unhinged enough to wrestle a match purely to pop himself too, which is even funnier.
Yeah.
Because there's a real chance that it's like a party atmosphere and Dragon's like, well, let's hit the mat and wrestle, brother. I mean, which is it's what I want to see anyway. So super excited to see what they come up with. This is the quite literal definition of WrestleDream. They couldn't have got any better with that. That's exactly what this is. So fired up. I think Bryan wins. It seems that they've bullied him into winning wrestling matches on this latest run. So that's a good sign. And so I assume he wins here and Zack doesn't lose it. I'm really happy for Zack because I thought it was kind of a bummer he didn't make Wembley, to be honest. Like I expected him to get on that card. It didn't work out that way. So big match for him. I'm intrigued as to what closes the show. I kind of think Edge debuting at the end of Christian and Darby is my personal pick to main event, which I actually think might help this match in a weird way. You know, like I think it will be fine regardless because they're so great. But this is probably better in the middle, I think, in a strange way. But either way, it's going to be great, and I think Bryan's going to get the win in a genuine dream match. It's a special match.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people would appreciate and kind of praise more the excellent main event of Forbidden Door with Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada if it didn't follow the best match of one of the two best matches of the year from the same people, Kenny Omega and Will Osprey.
Right.
So I do agree with you. This match being maybe in the middle of the show might benefit more. And like I said, Christian and Darby could easily main event the show and no one would bat an eye, especially if you have Edge debut at the end afterwards. So yeah. I think either way you're good, but I mean, if this main event, I think that it still could live up and be a match of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Okada match, especially when I rewatched it, it was trending a certain way, and then the arm injury happened.
Yes.
And watching live, you could tell something was up, but you didn't realize how much it messed things up. Like, it changed their match entirely. So there's no place you can put this on the show where it won't be great. It's just a matter of how great. It's genuinely what we're talking about here. They're just how special these guys are.
Yeah. We got Nikki Boy. He says Dragon wins this one. I feel like this will be the first of a series. I mean, I wouldn't mind another match between them, but we only got a year, Negro Buck. Mm-hmm. Like, we need some fresh matchups as well in this year. We can't have a series with somebody. I don't know about all of that. Adrian saying Mariah May can debut after Chris Statlander versus Julia. I think that would be kind of the immediate thing to tell people what's next for the TBS title. And the TBS, if that happened and Mariah May's debuting and going after Chris Statlander TBS title, is it fair to say TBS title greater than AEW Women's World Championship?
You could probably say that now. Yeah. I don't think anyone would stop you. I think you'll find us that now. But yeah, I mean, that would be. I think she's going to be showing up pretty soon here. Would be my guess. Purely a guess, to be clear. But yeah, I think she's in play for sure.
I agree. We got Chris who says, I still think Sky Blue is going to help Julia Hart win the championship against Chris Statlander and join the House of Black.
House of Blue, brother.
House of Blue. We got Christopher Kidd who says TNT title can definitely main event this pay-per-view. Christian and Darby have earned that, especially since MJF is not defending the title. It would help the TNT title again to be in the main event too. So.
Yes. Yeah, and the only thing you'd have to be concerned about is if it leaks that Edge is in the building, you could have one of those situations where people are just waiting for Edge to come out throughout the whole match. And that's unfortunately kind of what happened to Christian 2 years ago in Chicago, where it wasn't leaked so much as everyone just knew what was going to happen at the end of the show. So it was like, can we get on with the part where Bryan comes, which was totally unfair. That match ruled, by the way. But
it did. Christian and Kenny,
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, both of their matches in AEW were great.
But yeah, I love both of their matches. So yeah, that is a factor. That'll be the Edge part of that is kind of, if it stays where it's at now, people will be hoping but not expecting. If things escalate reporting wise, that could affect the match. I hope not, because I want to see them have a classic, so we'll see.
Same here. I agree with you 100%. And that is the end. All 10 matches for AEW WrestleDream. Put any final comments or thoughts or any final super chat donations in the live chat as we end things off here. We do have a super chat donation from the Negro Buck Nick Jackson. Thank you so much, good brother, who says about Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. I'm about to study the shit out of this match too. Goats. I love it. I love it.
Tremendous.
It's gonna
Absolutely.
be
The right guys to study, brother.
yeah, it's like it's gonna be worthy of studying because these two guys are two of the best. And so is Joe Hulbert at what we do here, talking about professional wrestling, especially these AEW pay-per-views. So you know what we do always at the end of this, where I invite Joe back to join me up for full gear. Full gear. We just a few weeks away, 5-6 weeks away. I hope Joe will be back with me then. But Joe, until then, let the people know where they can follow you and all the great stuff you're doing. Late Night Grin, WrestlePurists. Let the folks know.
Well, in the immediate future, I believe in around half an hour, I'll be over on WrestlePurists. I confirmed that booking in the time we were on the air. So I'll be on there talking about the news. I don't know what that entails. I think it's about Mariah May, actually, interestingly enough, and so on and so forth. So that's over at WrestlePurists. You can read my stuff at WrestlePurists.com. And if you go to latenightgrin.com, you can see the Outlaw Wrestling promotion that I run, in which we do just horrific programming. You know how bad it is, brother. I mean, it's terrible. So if you want to see that kind of thing, latenightgrin.com. Last night we were joined by John Alba, who's an actual professional, which was very embarrassing for the rest of us. But the usual stuff, and I hope to be on for Full Gear. That should be a hell of a time.
Absolutely. Always enjoy talking about the Graps with Joel Hulbert and check out all his great stuff as well. Good question here by Cookie the Goat, who says, what do you guys think will be on the pre-show?
I could see something falling out from the Kingdom Best Friends match on Saturday. You know, something in that lane I could see. Maybe another win for the Kingdom.
I can see them doing something like Claudio and Big Bill on the pre-show.
Yep. You could do Claudio and Cage too after the interaction there. And something, I don't think it'll be anything. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they moved. I think the Ricky Yuta match, if they were going to move one, would probably be the match, right? I guess.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully they don't add anything else to the main card because I think they've got a pretty good balance right now. I think that's about right. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Pre-show will be interesting.
Yeah, I think they have to, if they add matches to the pre-show, put another women's matchup. So I can see them doing like a multi-woman match, like a Saraya, Ruby Soho, and Athena versus like Willow, not Sky Blue because she's selling the injury. Willow, maybe Kara Hogan and somebody else.
Yeah. Well, same with Athena is always good. So hopefully we get some Athena if nothing else.
That's what I want. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah,
and
man.
yes, Mariah May put out on Twitter earlier today that she's finishing up with Stardom on Saturday, and then she's turning right around to catch a 6 a.m. flight. And they asked her, "Oh, back to the UK?" She's like, "Maybe." So, yeah. So it looks like she's teasing it. We shall see what goes down at WrestleDream. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at TrueHillHeat. Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. The best way to support us. $3 a month gets you exclusive content as well as the True Hill Heat Prediction Championship. We'll have predictions for this weekend with No Mercy and WrestleDream, so stay tuned for that. And right now we got our interview with Matt Cardona and Willow Nightingale available at Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. You get early access before it gets over here on the channel. But check out all the great stuff we got on the channel right now, like AE Ramble episode 113 from yesterday with myself and Jimmy Macaram, breaking down all the action from AEW Dynamite with the MJF Jay White promo. We asked the question, who is the devil? Who is the devil? Who is behind the devil mask? We talked all about it. So much fun, as always, with me and Jimmy. So check that out right now. Subscribe and always stay tuned for that every Thursday, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We also got our NXT No Mercy 2023 preview that is up right now with myself and Robert D. Felice of Fightful. That was a lot of fun. So check that out right now before this Saturday's show. I was with Caden for a Rated Raw review earlier this week as well. So you could check that out right now, breaking down this week's Monday Night Raw. And then later today, we got the first edition of In the Stars with me and Jimmy Macaram, breaking down all of Dave Meltzer's star ratings from AEW All In and AEW All Out and WWE Payback, as well as giving our star ratings as well. And if you know Jimmy Macaram, he ripped Dave Meltzer's star ratings apart. So check that out. Drops later today. But for Joe Hulbert, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been AEW WrestleDream Preview. We are signing off until next time. Later, y'all.